y'all. This is Deidre with One Shot Game, man. You already know how the motto go. You get one shot at life, but a lifetime to learn all the game you need to help improve your life. The choice is yours on which route you choose to take. Now, as I always say, you get two choices: the ability to faithfully settle in the life that has been set out for you, or the ability to pave a path towards your destiny. That choice is also up to you. So before I get into the title of my video, I want to say a big shout out to all my supporters. You guys are great, and even the ones behind the scenes, I see you too. So look, the title of this video is going to be on the fact that when the world is hit with a crisis, it sets off a tripwire in your mind, right? And a lot of the times it'll be the tripwire that sets you back, or it'll be the tripwire that sets you free. You know what I'm saying? But again, people gotta really understand the fact that a lot of us don't even realize how oftentimes, because we're all one in consciousness, there's usually a head honcho that operates out of money and a head honcho that operates out of love. You know what I'm saying? For centuries and decades, them two have not been able to come together, because there are people that operate out of love in what they do, and they are not prejudiced, biased, or judge anyone. They just strictly do what they do out of love for what they do. And then there are people that do what they do for a profit. Everything that they move under, everything that they set up is strictly because of a profit. You know what I'm saying? And because those are oftentimes two different sets of people, one moves out of love by righteousness, compassion, caring, nothing is limited, follow the rules, do what's necessary to provide, you know what I'm saying, a service out of love. Then there are ones, you know what I'm saying, that operate out of money, which means they manipulate, finesse, twist the mind up, have you thinking something that it may not be true. A system designed and built off lies to be able to win the minds of people for a profit. You know what I'm saying? Listen. And because of that, I feel as if a lot of people are not realizing that the fact of a lot of people are in a state of crisis. You know what I'm saying? And what you may think is something may not be what it seems. You know what I'm saying? And it's just speaking from facts. This is actually me being able to paint a picture to y'all based off my life and giving y'all factual evidence. You know what I'm saying? So again, people like comfortable lies. People don't like the truth because it be real, especially if you operate off manipulation and you know you didn't finesse somebody. You don't like to hear the truth, even though you know it's the truth. Tell me comfortable lies. You know what I'm saying? So I can believe in what I'm doing. It's beneficial for myself, you know? So again, understanding and realizing, like, as human beings, there is no amount of training. There is no amount of, you know what I'm saying, drills that you can do to prepare yourself for a crisis. You're only able to manage a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But when the crisis starts to get out of control, it's hard to manage providing relief if it's out of a profit versus love. You know what I'm saying? Because then that means it's a change that has to happen, and quick. And a lot of, you know what I'm saying, the world has been operating off of profit. People who have basically lived and designed their lives off of a certain status by doing everything for profit. I can trick them and manipulate them and make them think that I'm going to do something to help benefit them, but I have different intentions. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm doing this for profit. So what a lot of people don't realize is that the system is designed to feed investors. So there are certain things that are set up maybe in your city and state that you may think is ran by somebody, but it's really not. You know what I'm saying? It may have that person's logo on the front of the building, but the building is ran by a different company. You know what I'm saying? With the motive and the objective to produce certain results, because they took the money that they had to invest in that. You get what I'm saying? So stay with me. Don't get off balance. You know what I'm saying? So realizing and understanding that when certain things get out of control, you have the people who have to amp up doing it out of love, you know what I'm saying, and providing relief, or do you have the people that is going to amp up moving out of profit? Because if the people who moving out of love get ahead of me moving out of profit, the power that I have by my status is going to be diminished. You know what I'm saying? So again, understanding and realizing oftentimes to win, one has to take a permanent nap. So when you're someone that is finally living in your truth and knowing who you are, that is the power that the ones operating out of profit is going up against. So that's why your life may be a little bit harder than others, because you're moving out of pure love. You want to see justice be served for everybody, because you can see the world in a different way than most people see it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are upset, especially ones that want to make it seem like they don't operate in the dark. They will completely just act like they're not a person that operates in the dark. Don't trust a person that, you know what I'm saying, is the police. You know what? You're right. You know what I'm saying? I guess you could say that, because every time I got caught doing something wrong, or I tried to do something wrong to just get ahead in life, somehow I got caught. So now it's time for me to understand why that was. And I know that in myself, it's because it's a lot of injustices done to the people that are covered up by comfortable lies. So that convinces the person to think that they're going to get something if they adjust to the control of the mind, when that is absolutely not true. You are being used as a vessel for profit, and not for you. You know what I'm saying? For the person controlling you. You know? So listen, I don't want to get too off topic, but just from my own personal experience, it is something that happens in waves. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to see it a lot more by just observation. People are losing their jobs. People are losing their homes. People are on the verge of coming close to losing their jobs and their homes, but they do a good job at covering it up. You know what I'm saying? You may be in the first wave, but other people are facing it too, right? So for me personally, my natural instinct is survival. It's everybody's natural instinct. You know what I'm saying? So me learning at a young age, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm about to spill the beans, to call 211. You know what I'm saying? That is the local assistance for the city of Sacramento if you are facing some type of crisis, right? Now, back when I was like 18, there were not a lot of people in need of assistance. So you were more able to get assistance at a rapid rate. You know what I'm saying? With no problems. The wait time was probably, I'll say the max, like 30 days. You know what I'm saying? But now you got to think about, going back, like people who know that that's not something that's of high interest don't pour into that. So I'm not exactly sure who invested into 211 to provide like money for your light bill or your rent, but someone was doing it with the mentality of moving out of love, not wanting to see people in that situation, right? So if they could, that's what, I don't know where it was coming from, but it was coming from somewhere, right? But it is now 2025 going on 2026, and more people are losing out on, you know what I'm saying, their stability by conditions of their own, and some not. You know what I'm saying? And again, it sets off a tripwire in your mind. So your automatic instinct is to call 211. Let me tell y'all something. It is not what it seems. Let me tell you again. It is not what it seems. Somewhere, somebody who run that system knows that people are waking up to discover the truth, right? So it's almost as if the people who get top priority are the ones who suffer from DV, domestic violence, in case y'all don't know what that is, mental health, substance abuse, you know what I'm saying? Because that is used to control the homeless population on the streets. They already have an image or a title with them. They're suffering from mental illness. suffering from, I'm saying, substance abuse, domestic violence. They're on the streets due to those reasons. So they get first top priority on the list when they call 211. You know what I'm saying? If you are just a regular person suffering from homelessness, don't call 211. Your best bet would be to figure it out on your own. I don't care how hard it get. Do it by yourself, because I'm telling you right now, they are not going to help those people that are just facing homelessness, because in their mind, they figure that, what are you not doing that you are in a homeless situation? Let's not tell people the truth that the rent is so high that a normal regular job wouldn't even cover the price of a standard apartment. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to tell you that, because again, these people are designed to not admit the truth, even if they know it, because they're following a certain leader who says, listen, I need to push this agenda to make this work for what we got going on. So even if they are telling the truth, do not admit it. You know what I'm saying? Completely stand on 10 toes about the motto that we got going on here, right? And listen, I done been through this system for a whole 8 months. You know what I'm saying? So once you are able to understand that a lot of these homeless centers are designated by 211, they're not walk-in centers. So you cannot be homeless like one day, all of a sudden you homeless and walk into these centers. They're going to tell you to call 211, right? And when you call 211, they're going to have you fill out, you know what I'm saying, this paper that tells you, asks you all these questions. You know what I'm saying? What situation you in, what you suffering from, this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? That's based on to get you housing. But let me tell y'all another thing. There is no housing. You know what I'm saying? Listen, there is no housing. You get into these homeless shelters, and the whole thing is based off control. So you got to think, if I'm trying to get the population off the streets to, you know what I'm saying, in these homeless shelters, I got to be able to paint a narrative. Therefore, that's how I get the investors to invest in these homeless shelters. You know what I'm saying? Because they may say they're run by the city of Sacramento, but a lot of them are ran by someone else. That is exactly why they're doing like a lottery on who gets into them. They're not packed. They actually have a lot of beds, but they do lotteries on who they want to go into these homeless shelters. You know what I'm saying? And everybody ain't qualified. So once they get you in there, it's now a game of mind poker. You know what I'm saying? Straight mind chess, because it's almost as if you got to think about how these people who've been in control for a very long time, we need to keep these people on drugs. We need to keep them, you know what I'm saying, out there recklessly moving in life, not really focusing on themselves, trying to get ahead. You know what I'm saying? Because then that promotes the drinking. That promotes the drug use, which fuels our pockets, because, again, it's a system. It's a chain. That promotes going to jail. Everybody gets paid in that way because, again, these people are holding on to their power, even though the world is changing. They're not ready to let go. You know what I'm saying? And the only way to actually see the new world be formed is, I'm just being honest, those people in power and control got to take a permanent nap. So their time may be up. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, maybe weeks from now, who knows? But it's coming. You know what I'm saying? And so getting into those homeless shelters, what you will start to see is the fact that they're promoting jobs. They're promoting getting sober. They're promoting this. They're promoting that. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? But it's almost as if, imagine these homeless shelters being ran like prison. Or jail. I'm just going to say prison, because prison is supposed to have rules. It's supposed to have a certain way that it functions and operates. But when you get in there, it is like a whole trapped neighborhood. It is like a ghetto within itself. Everything that you can think of that's tolerated on the streets is tolerated in there. And ain't nobody saying nothing because it's a controlled environment. Now, again, that's been a while. Things may have changed. But imagine going from one hood ghetto to another. You know what I'm saying? But this is where what happens in there stays in there, because everybody's working together to keep that system functioning. You know what I'm saying? So again, think about it on a different scale. Take your mind out of what you're going through and think about it on a different scale, right? So they're promoting mental health. They're promoting substance abuse. Like, don't listen. Everything that someone is saying to go against what we got going on, they're suffering from mental health. They don't know what they're talking about because most of these people do drugs. Some of these homeless shelters allow people to smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? They allow them to not do nothing all day. You know what I'm saying? They're just people who have lost their way, and they're not encouraging them to get better. Now, again, I know you can't force anybody to want to get better, but ain't that is what's the motto supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? Because if you really think about it, what type of housing do you think you gonna get if you ain't got no source of income? Like, a lot of these people in these homeless shelters really think that one day they gonna go to their case manager and all of a sudden she gonna be like, oh, I got a place for you over here. Hey, that is not how that works. That's real delulu if you believe that. You know what I'm saying? What they're trying to do is control. Meaning, I need to get y'all to go from, you know what I'm saying, rationally thinking, clearing your mind, going out there working jobs, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, they can, I don't know, collect whatever type of energy they getting from that, which actually fuels whoever is opening up these homeless shelters. These people transition from being on the streets with mental health and substance abuse and suffering DV. Now they got jobs and they doing good. As an investor, I'm going to want to promote into that. I'm going to want to put money into that because I've seen the results. You know what I'm saying? But listen to me when I say everybody that gets into these centers is not suffering from domestic violence, mental health, or substance abuse. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they have actually went through the process of healing their own self. So what they're trying to understand is how to, you know what I'm saying, figure out and grow inside themselves in a safe environment. You know what I'm saying? But again, I feel like, why not tell people the truth? Because again, it's a hidden motive under that. Why not tell people there is no housing for real? Because you got to think about it. The only housing that's going to be affordable when you get a job, if you've been on the streets for a long time, suffering homelessness or substance abuse, and you get clean and you start working, the only job you feel me, you're going to work is probably a minimum wage job. That's not going to be enough to afford rent in a 1-bedroom apartment, because they had flyers at the place I just left, and a 1-bedroom apartment was $1,200 in a newly built complex, but your yearly or monthly income had to be like 70-something thousand or something like that. There's nobody making that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think of how that makes people actually not want to work, and they'll get more comfortable with just not doing nothing all day. You know what I'm saying? Or figuring out a different way. But people that are running these systems don't want to tell people that. Like, there's no housing coming out of this. It's all based off control. So the whole system is designed for you to get clean, get sober, change your thought process, go out there and get a job, you feel me, and work. And I'm all for that. I'm not against that. You know what I'm saying? But if that's to benefit and profit somebody who is running these systems off control to get these investors to invest, is just the motive of getting them off the street. That is how we curb homelessness, is get them off the street into these shelters and get them working jobs. Now, the rest of the people that is just suffering homelessness for no reason at all, we don't got no resources for them. Don't you think that's going to be a bigger problem? Especially if you're seeing it happen at a rapid rate. But again, you got to think of how that also influences change. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, let me give you an example. I was in the 8th grade when 9/11 happened. You got to think, all the firefighters, all the police officers, everybody that was discharged to go on the scene didn't have enough training for what was happening that day with these 2 twin towers and these planes and this fire and these people dying. I don't give a damn if you called every resource opportunity from in the state of New York City and around. It was a mindset thing. You know what I'm saying? Now it's time that you really honor what you worked for. You know what I'm saying? Are you really going to stand up and go in here and try to save a life, even if it risks your own? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you signed up for, or are you doing it for profit? Meaning you only here for the bag. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to do whatever to pull away from the real objective. You're going to let fear stop you from actually going and doing what you signed up for. You know what I'm saying? So listen, rest in peace to all the soldiers, police officers that died in the line of duty because they stood behind the real mission of what they were doing in their life. And they went in there with the intention of saving a life, even if they lost their own. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, even if that's not for everybody, that's the difference in people who do what they do out of love and people who do what they do out of profit. You know what I'm saying? And again, it comes with fear. Just imagine you going and living a regular day, and then all of a sudden they call in lines back to back saying, hey, we have a national crisis right now. 2 planes have just hit the 2 Twin Towers buildings. Everybody goes into a state of fear. Every single person. You know what I'm saying? Because this is just something that was unplanned. Nobody was ready. You know what I'm saying? But imagine having to keep your cool in something like that. Because I know y'all remember, I think Bush was the president at the time. When he got the call, he kept a straight face. You know what I'm saying? He did not act out of worry. Because you cannot handle a crisis like that. You have to be able to stay calm. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise so many things happen that puts it in a state of going crazy. People don't know what to do. They losing their mind out here. That creates more disasters. You know what I'm saying? So, because we're facing that scenario right now, it's almost as if people are being hit with not really knowing what to do. You call 211. You know what I'm saying? They have, listen, they might cut your phone off. You might be in the middle of waiting or on hold, and all of a sudden your phone get disconnected. You know what I'm saying? They may tell you something like, oh, we can't help you, you know what I'm saying, because of this, because of that. Like, they're using that system to control it the way they want to. It's not about actually helping the people because they don't have all the resources able to. But again, yes, they do. There are so many homeless shelters that are discovered on the internet. Like, you can't Google them. You know what I'm saying? Because they're ran by other companies that was already set up knowing that at some point this was going to happen. So why not try to fill them up as much as possible so that people don't be on the streets? But again, that's not the motive. The motive is to get as many people off the streets who are suffering from mental health and DV and substance abuse. So we can point that narrative like, hey, this is what we're doing behind the smoke screen. But actually it's for profit. You know what I'm saying? Because I just want as many people in here disheveled as possible. The ones that really are suffering from a mental crisis, so that I can be able to control them to fuel them off of profit because they don't know the difference. You know what I'm saying? Listen, first of all, you shouldn't be allowing substances at none of these locations. People shouldn't be allowed to do any mind-altering substances at all, period. You know what I'm saying? You should be influencing them to at least get up and do something all day, not be sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I was raised by my granny. When it was time to go out and find a job, even if you didn't go out and find a job, she was making your ass get up. You're not about to be just sleeping all day. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm telling you, but there are so many people in there that are saving their ass. Their ass is to be on the line and protected. So even if they know the truth and they know that you know the truth, they won't acknowledge the fact that you know the truth. They're still promoting whatever they got going on by the person controlling them because it's benefiting them in some way. You got to think, like I said, if people operate off of money, they're usually obeying a leader that says control people's minds and make them do this. You know what I'm saying? Because we are doing it for profit. Listen, how come y'all gonna judge somebody that's actually getting up every day and going out and trying to become a better version of herself? Versus the people that ain't doing shit all day but sitting around gossiping and sleeping and smoking weed all day. Again, because like I said, some are for profit, some are for love. You know what I'm saying? And that confuses the two. So they have these systems designed that you think are going to help you, but What if you actually having the ability to get your nervous system together to not trip set those wires, which helps you grow, to process certain things in the long run that produces effective change? You know what I'm saying? They're not used to people actually thinking for themselves. That is not something that they ever thought would be able to get out of control. As long as we got the ones who operate out of love to be triggered so hard that they fall back into the pit of depression, and then we got their mind. Now they're going to do what we say. You know what I'm saying? Not what they feel they want to do on their own. You feel me? Democracy. The freedom to be able to use your own brain to run your own world. It's not against the law. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's not designed for anyone to be successful on their own. Everything has a system. And there are a lot of people that are still in those old ways that work for that system. So anytime you're doing something abnormal to be in a right free of mind, they're coming in and doing sweeps. And those are usually people that work for the love of profit. Listen, all the camping grounds, all the people setting up their tents, all the people, you feel me, finding places where they can sleep. You know what I'm saying? They're hit fit with homelessness. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of them do suffer from substance abuse. You know what I'm saying? But you got to think, I am not making enough money at a job to be able to provide housing. Even if I work 2 or 3 jobs, it's still a struggle. That got too hard, I gave up. You know what I'm saying? I'm camping because I don't know where else to sleep. They pushing us out. That almost leads a person to do substance abuse. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's all about the image. They can't have people coming here thinking that this city is about, you know what I'm saying, homeless people all everywhere. But what if y'all not doing anything to fix the situation? Stop telling people they gonna get housing once they go to these homeless shelters when all y'all know, y'all really just promoting them to start working and being a model citizen. And this is coming from somebody who's worked a lot of jobs. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about a bag. But I was more stressed out when nothing that I needed in life to sustain my stability was coming out of me working. I don't care if you're making $26 an hour, $30 an hour. You know what I'm saying? If you don't got the right mindset, that amount of money is going to keep you in a cycle. Because if you don't get enough hours, you're not going to make that amount of money. And then Uncle Sam is taxing. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a mindset for wanting to live a better life. And if they're not promoting that in scenarios, that's not going to help people get better. You know what I'm saying? And this is coming from somebody of experience. I'm not going to be sitting down smoking weed all day if I know I ain't got nowhere to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? That don't even make sense. I'm not going to be sitting around gossiping with people, talking about what's going on inside the homeless shelter. You know what I'm saying? And I don't got nowhere to stay. I'm not about to keep buying all this designer stuff and bringing it in the homeless shelter, and I don't got nowhere to stay. You know what I'm saying? And people were not, like, following the rules. Like, there's a 2 policy bag minimum of stuff you can have in a homeless shelter. They were allowing people to get past with more and more and more stuff. It was almost as if they were, like, moving in. Like, again, when you go to prison, there are people that actually want to stay there and get free Section 8. So they don't mind going out into the free world and committing crimes and coming back because that's their permanent home. Because it's free. Absolutely not. I don't give a damn. You're not about to control my mind like that. I don't care how hard I gotta suffer on the streets of where I'm at. I will never, you feel me, allow myself to commit a crime to go back to prison because it's free fucking Section 8. That's stupid. Because again, once you get in these, you know what I'm saying, homeless shelters, there are a lot of rules, you feel me, to try to get control of your mind. Every day they try to get control of your mind. But think about it. That's exactly how prison is. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever watched the Harry Potter movies, the Dementors ran the prisons because those were souls that were intended on making you replay your life in a cycle to where you never make it out of that mindset and you want to stay in there without getting out. And that's how they are able to collect money. It's so easy to get a 115 in prison. You feel me? Listen, that adds more time onto your sentence. You'll start out with a 3-year sentence and end up being there for 5-6 years. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm telling you. Hey, the number 8. You feel me? Your old life with your new one. It's very important that you get it together and you make changes and understand that when you start to get a hold on changing your mindset for the better, they will find out a way how to get you out of there. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens is you're now exposing the real behind what's really going on, and they don't want other people to wake up to that. But I'm afraid to let people know that you can't stop that now. You know what I'm saying? Because the justice for people at some point was going to come alive, whether people want to admit it or not. You know what I'm saying? So the truth behind the reality of what's really going on, you feel me, will be exposed. And in the end, they will lose. And they going to only point the finger at one person, not realizing like that was the injustice right there. They may think in their mind, ooh, I'm following the leader, the orders of the leader that I serve. That means we're going to, you feel me, eject them out of this situation. Not knowing everything else that's going to come behind that. You know what I'm saying? But it's to diffuse your nervous system so that they can survive off of you feeling depressed. You know what I'm saying? So they can still promote the image that they're helping the people when in actuality they're not. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's so complicated. It just depends on how you take the scenario. You know what I'm saying? But when you're a person that you got your substance abuse together, you know what I'm saying? Because it was following you. It was dampening your life. It was stopping you from being a good parent. So before you even became homeless, you got it together. You don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Yo, there's nothing wrong with actually seeing the truth after you face so many injustice after injustice after injustice after injustice of your life by just doing the right thing. Imagine working jobs, not breaking laws, and still faced with injustice. That means somewhere something is not being explained to the people. And when you start to discover the truth behind it, that is when they are afraid of you of being exposed. So the only thing that they can do is try to set trap after trap after trap, put you in more distress after more distress. So therefore you can stop revealing the truth and be depressed so we can keep surviving. And those are the ones that have always been in power who are still trying to hang on to their last leg because they knew at some point the ones operating out of love would wake up and be invested in actually helping people to where they're motive behind what they're doing wouldn't survive. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm telling you, and it's the truth. It's time to wake them up. You know what I'm saying? I had an experience today where I went somewhere and I actually seen that the services that were being provided there are because the person running it really, truly, honestly is doing it to help the people. Period. But again, like I said, it's investors that invest in that. I just feel like homeless services, you shouldn't have to provide your name. You shouldn't have to make your identity known to none of those systems. If you're going to help the people, help the people. But again, when it's all focused on money, you got to think about how a lot of people run for profit. And that's why it gets confusing because the donations, the things that people use to run these centers to help these people cost money. You know what I'm saying? So why can't people not just invest in the motive behind it? Of helping the people instead of doing something on the back end that's not telling the truth. You feel me? To actually defraud the people in a way. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that is what creates so many injustices in life. Let's not tell the people that unless you are a high-ranking, motivated money figure and you're making 6 figures a month or a year, that's the only way you're going to be afford stable living out here. You know what I'm saying? Because if you are someone who's getting off the streets from suffering substance abuse and you go get a job at McDonald's and you never worked before, you gonna either be at that homeless shelter for a very long time, you know what I'm saying? Or you're not gonna have nowhere to stay but trying to get to work. That catapults you right back into that mindset. I'm telling you, now is the time you wake them up and tell them the truth. Be honest. You know what I'm saying? When you're operating for profit, you don't care about the people. It's only about the money. You know what I'm saying? But when you operate out of love, you make it happen to where you have the ability to allow the money to come to you. So you can operate and fund whatever you're doing out of love. You know what I'm saying? And there is no animosity, jealousy, or, you know what I'm saying, any ill intention in that. Because now is the time that a lot of people are waking up to the truth. You feel me? Whether people don't like it or not. It was coming sooner or later. And now that people recognize and understand that, it's like a free mindset change. You're able to see the real instead of, you know what I'm saying, the illusion we were trapped in. that kept us stuck in a certain mind frame. You know what I'm saying? That kept us repeating certain cycles over and over again. I remember being in a cycle of having everything at one time and then losing it. Having everything and then losing it. I couldn't figure out to save my life. How come just when I get comfortable with stability, it's getting snatched away from me again? You feel me? And so now I'm getting to the point where I understand it now. It makes perfect sense. If you just wait and be patient, everything will be solved. But you'll have a better attitude of understanding how to generate the energy to help you sustain what you have, instead of allowing your energy to be accessible by people who don't want you to grow. And they get attached to you, and now you wondering why you losing everything. You know what I'm saying? It's real. Know and understand that. Energy and having it right motivates the ability to figure out how to operate the energy that comes with money. Because money is so much more than money. It's an energy thing. These people running these systems, they know that. But the people going into them don't. You know what I'm saying? So they're afraid of people actually understanding how to operate their energy to make the ability for them to be able to have a better life. You know, and again, there are people who are still in the dark. They know that these people are waking up, and they make it seem like they're waking up too, but they not. They're actually mad at these people. You know what I'm saying? Or trying to be like them because they're stuck in a certain mindset where they're still trying to get money. They're still trying to control people's minds. You feel me? For the benefit of themselves. But it's not working because people are catching on. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I can go on and on and on, but I'm not. So if you don't know what it is, I just told you. Please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe.